Welcome to Azeem USA, and welcome to today's deep dive. I'm so glad you're joining us today because we're looking at something that honestly kind of broke my brain a little bit.
Yeah, it's a wild one.
It really is. We're talking about the newly announced 2026 iPhone 17. And I want to hook you right away with the fact that it sounds completely made up, but I promise you it's real.
I still can't believe it myself.
Right. So the new iPhone 17e starts at $599. And if you hop in a time machine and go all the way back to 2009,
17 years ago.
17 years ago,
Oh.
that is the exact same retail price as the original iPhone 3GS.
Wow.
Just think about that for a second. You are paying 2009 prices for a device from 2026.
It's a remarkable piece of context, especially when you factor in inflation and the sheer absurd amount of technology packed into modern devices. Like
Yeah.
a $599 phone today is essentially a supercomputer compared to what we were carrying around in 2009.
Well, that's
And to figure out exactly how Apple is pulling this off, we've gone through a mountain of material for you. We've got their official press releases, the incredibly dense technical specification sheets.
so dense.
Yeah, and the 2026 product environmental report. Plus, to give us that essential real-world perspective, we're looking at hands-on testing from tech creator iJustine.
Exactly. Because we don't just want to read the marketing copy to you. We want to know what this thing is actually like to use in the real world.
And that brings us to our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack whether this $599 entry-level phone is actually the ultimate budget-conscious tech loophole for you, or if the compromises Apple had to make to hit that price point are simply too steep for the modern user.
Okay, let's unpack this,
Right.
starting with the name itself. The iPhone 17. What does the E even stand for?
It's the big question.
Right, because you look on the tech blogs and people are throwing around entry-level or essential, economy, things like that.
Yeah.
But looking closely at the internal documentation, there's a fascinating little nugget about how Apple actually views this phone. Their internal tagline for the device is, "The iPhone for everyone."
Everyone is a powerful word in consumer technology.
It really is.
It implies accessibility, not just in how easy the interface is to use, but in financial accessibility and practical capacity. And that capacity is really the first major value metric we need to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about the storage.
For that $599 price tag, Apple has actually doubled the starting storage to 256 gigabytes.
Which is huge.
Right. And if you need more room, there's a 512 gigabyte option for $799. But that 256 gigabyte baseline is massive. Just a few generations ago, the iPhone 12's base storage was 64 gigabytes.
Oh man, 64 gigs.
Yeah, so you're getting 4 times the starting storage for a fraction of what flagship phones cost today.
Which is huge for anyone who takes a ton of photos or downloads massive games. You're finally free from those dreaded storage full pop-ups. But here's my question. Does a $599 phone feel like a $599 phone? Like, did they wrap it in cheap plastic to save a buck?
Not at all, and that's what makes the pricing so aggressive here. The design utilizes an aerospace-grade aluminum frame.
Nice.
It also features Ceramic Shield 2 on the front display. Now, for the non-materials engineers listening, Ceramic Shield is Apple's proprietary glass formulation. It's infused with nano-ceramic crystals.
Sounds expensive.
It is. And version 2 provides 3 times better scratch resistance than the previous generation.
Plus, it looks great. It comes in 3 colors. You've got your classic black, a really clean white, and this highly anticipated new soft pink with a premium matte finish. It definitely doesn't look like a budget device.
What's fascinating here is how Apple is taking materials and durability standards that were exclusive to their most expensive Pro tiers just a couple of years ago and pushing them down into their most affordable tier.
Yeah, pushing that premium feel down the lineup.
Exactly. They explicitly state they want this device to hold its value longer. By making the baseline phone physically tougher, they're ensuring it survives the typical drops and scrapes of everyday life. That's incredibly appealing if you're the type of person who plans to keep your phone for 3, 4, even 5 years.
And speaking of holding on to things, we have to talk about MagSafe.
Oh, yeah.
I loved this anecdote from iJustine's hands-on review. She pointed out that on last year's iPhone 16, the magnetic connection for accessories was notoriously weak.
Right. It was a known issue.
Yeah. She was testing it in Hawaii, trying to use these magnetic camera tripods, and the phone would barely stick. It was just a frustrating experience. But with the 17, Apple has brought in full 15-watt MagSafe and Qi 2 support.
Right, and for those who might not be familiar, Qi 2 is the new universal wireless charging standard that essentially took Apple's MagSafe tech and made it available to the whole industry. It guarantees perfectly aligned, faster charging.
Exactly. And in her video, she snaps the new 17E onto the tripod, and it just grips. It's totally secure. You can shake it around, and it doesn't budge. It completely transforms how you interact with wallets, chargers, and car mounts.
It's a perfect example of closing the gap between the premium and the budget experience. MagSafe isn't just a charging method anymore, it's an entire ecosystem.
For sure.
By fully supporting it on the 17, they're inviting the budget-conscious user into that ecosystem without any friction or compromise in magnetic strength.
Okay, so the outside looks great. It holds your accessories tight, and it has plenty of room for your apps. But let's dive into the inside. We're moving into the brains of the operation.
The fun stuff.
Usually when you buy a $599 phone, you're bracing yourself for a dusty old processor from 3 years ago. But the spec sheet says the 17E is rocking the brand new A19 chip. Is it watered down?
It isn't watered down at all. This is not leftover silicon. The A19 is built on advanced 3-nanometer technology.
Okay, what does it actually mean for the user?
What that means for you is that the microscopic transistors inside the chip are packed incredibly close together. Shorter distance for the electrical signals to travel means the phone is both blindingly fast and highly energy efficient. It features a 6-core CPU and a 4-core GPU that actually includes hardware-accelerated ray tracing.
Okay, ray tracing on a $599 phone is wild.
It really is.
For the non-gamers listening, ray tracing is the incredibly complex rendering technique that makes lighting, shadows, and water reflections look physically accurate and lifelike rather than flat and cartoonish. Normally, you need a massive, power-hungry desktop graphics card to pull that off.
Exactly.
To see if the phone could actually handle it, Justine ran a hardware stress test. She played a demanding AAA mobile game called Arknights, Enfield for 30 minutes straight, and brought out a thermal imaging camera.
Which is the true test of any mobile processor. We all know about thermal throttling. If a chip gets too hot, it has to aggressively slow down its performance to cool off, which causes your game to stutter and drop frames.
Right.
In her testing, the thermal imaging showed the iPhone 17e hovering around 93 degrees Fahrenheit with a peak hotspot around 103 degrees.
Which is barely above human body temperature.
Yeah.
She noted she didn't see any drop frames at all. It played perfectly smooth. So we know the chip is efficient, but what does that mean for battery and cell service?
If you dig into the spec sheet, they've quietly slipped in a brand new Apple-designed cellular modem called the C1X.
Oh, they made their own modem.
Yes. This new modem is up to twice as fast as the one in the previous generation, and remarkably, it uses 30% less energy.
Wow.
When you combine that highly efficient modem with the 3-nanometer A19 chip, you get incredible battery life. Apple is rating this phone for up to 26 hours of video playback.
That is insane for a baseline phone.
And if you do run it down, a standard 20-watt charger will get you back to 50% in just 30 minutes.
That's serious all-day power. And they didn't strip out the safety features either. The 17E includes all the groundbreaking satellite capabilities we've seen on the higher-end models.
That's a huge value add.
Right. If you're out hiking or driving through a rural dead zone, you have emergency SOS via satellite, roadside assistance, and the ability to update your location in Find My, even with 0 cell bars.
It represents a profound shift in how we view the baseline utility of a smartphone. It's no longer just a communication device, it's a vital piece of safety equipment.
Yeah, a safety net in your pocket.
And on top of that hardware safety, you have the software intelligence. The 17E ships with iOS 26, which introduces a new design language they call liquid glass. It dynamically adapts to your content, making the interface feel much more fluid and alive.
Yes, and iOS 26 brings Apple Intelligence right to the forefront. And this isn't just a gimmick. You get live translation, which works in Messages, FaceTime, and even live in the phone app. You get Genmoji, where you can type a description like a sloth holding a light bulb, and it generates a custom emoji for you instantly.
That one's fun.
But the AI feature that stood out the most to me was the call screening.
It's arguably the most practical AI feature they've included. The phone can automatically answer unknown callers, ask them the reason for their call, and present you with a live transcription on your screen.
Amazing.
You can read what they're saying and decide if it's worth picking up. It's a brilliant use of on-device machine learning to eliminate everyday annoyances like spam calls.
For sure.
And visual intelligence is also present, accessible right from the action button on the side of the phone. You can point your camera at a restaurant in the real world, hold the button, and instantly pull up its menu in hours.
That on-device AI requires a ton of power, which
Hmm.
naturally brings us to the camera. Because if you turn the iPhone 17e around, you're going to notice a visual oddity. There's only one camera lens on the back. Every other phone these days looks like a spider with 3 or 4 lenses, but this just has one. Does that mean the camera is a downgrade?
It looks simple, but the engineering behind that single lens is highly sophisticated. It's a 48 megapixel fusion camera driven by Apple's photonic engine.
Okay, break that down for us.
Sure. The photonic engine is their computational photography pipeline that processes uncompressed image data pixel by pixel to optimize texture, detail, and noise reduction. Now, while the sensor is capable of taking massive 48 megapixel images, it actually defaults to a 24 megapixel resolution.
Why is that?
This is a very deliberate choice. A 24 megapixel image provides an incredible amount of detail capturing beautiful lighting and skin tones, but the file size remains manageable. It's the perfect balance for storing thousands of photos without instantly filling up your 256 gigabytes of space.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Because it has that huge 48 megapixel sensor, it can do this clever optical trick. The camera can take the middle 12 megapixels of that massive sensor and use it as a 2x zoom.
Yes.
So even though you only have one physical lens on the back of the phone, it acts like two. You get a wide shot and an optical quality 2x telephoto shot without losing any crispness or relying on that terrible blurry digital zoom.
It's computational photography at its finest. You're getting the utility of multiple lenses without the hardware cost or the physical bulk on the back of the phone.
Right.
And this computational power extends to portrait photography as well. The next generation portraits feature allows the phone to automatically recognize people, dogs, and cats and capture depth information without you ever needing to manually swipe over into a dedicated portrait mode.
That is so practical. You just snap a regular photo of your dog, and then later you can go to your camera roll, tap a button, and blur the background. You can even tap different subjects in the photo to change who is in focus after you took the picture.
It's wild.
And the video side is just as impressive. You can shoot 4K resolution at 60 frames per second in Dolby Vision.
Which is incredible for a device at this price. Dolby Vision is an advanced high dynamic range format that constantly optimizes the brightness, contrast, and color frame by frame.
Yeah.
To process Dolby Vision at 60 frames per second on a single lens budget device is a massive testament to the sheer processing power of that A19 chip. But the innovation isn't just visual, it's auditory. There's a feature called Audio Mix, which uses machine learning to isolate and adjust voices in your videos.
Oh, I have to bring up the example from the iJustine video for this because it blew my mind. She's outside walking her dog, Maddie. The wind is howling, there's traffic noise. It sounds exactly like a messy, chaotic, outdoor smartphone video.
Oh, I'll shot those videos.
Exactly. Then she taps the audio mix button on the screen. Instantly, the wind noise just drops away. Her voice becomes isolated, rich, and clear, like she's wearing a professional lapel microphone on her shirt. It is wild how good it sounds, just from the phone's built-in microphones.
It really highlights how artificial intelligence is moving beyond just generating text or images and into practical, everyday enhancements. If you're recording family memories at a windy beach or trying to capture a quick vlog in a noisy environment, that feature alone elevates the quality of your output tremendously.
Okay, so far we've talked about a super fast chip, great battery, an awesome camera, and AI magic. But before we talk about what you're actually giving up, a quick message for our amazing Azeem USA community.
Yeah, let's talk about how to support the channel.
Exactly. If you're watching us live right now and want to jump to the front of the line for the Q&A session later, hit that super chat button. It's the best way to make sure we see your tech questions.
And if you're catching the replay of this deep dive, you can always use the super thanks button right below the video to leave a tip. It really helps keep these reviews independent and honest.
Also, consider hitting that join button to become a channel member. You get exclusive custom badges next to your name in the comments, plus some really cool custom emotes to use in the live chat.
It's a great way to support Azeem USA.
All right, let's get back into it. We promised you the full picture. So, what's the catch? To get down to $599, Apple had to cut some corners compared to the iPhone 17 and 17 Pro. Let's talk about the compromises. What are you actually giving up?
Setting expectations is crucial here. The iPhone 17 is remarkable, but it's not a Pro device, and the emissions are where you see the cost savings.
Right.
The most significant trade-off is the display. It's a beautiful 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR display. Because it's an OLED screen, you get perfect inky blacks and vibrant colors.
And it gets pretty bright, too.
It gets incredibly bright, hitting 1200 nits, which means you can easily read it outdoors in direct sunlight. However, its refresh rate is locked at 60 Hz. It does not feature the 120 Hz promotion technology found on the more expensive models.
Wait, hold on. I have to push back on this.
Yeah.
It's 2026. You can go out right now and buy a $200 Android phone that has a 120 Hz screen.
That's true.
When you look at the 17E next to the 17 Pro Max, like they did in the review video, the difference is obvious. When you're scrolling quickly through your home screen or swiping between apps, the Pro model looks like liquid. It's perfectly smooth. The 17E at 60 Hz looks a lot more choppy. Isn't Apple just artificially locking this to 60 Hz to force people to spend more money on the Pro?
It's a fair criticism, and the optics of a 60 Hz screen in 2026 certainly bother the tech enthusiast crowd. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, this is a highly calculated compromise.
How so?
Yes, a power user who is used to a 120 Hz screen will immediately notice the difference when scrolling rapidly through a busy text feed on social media. But for the average consumer, the real-world impact is minimal when it comes to consuming media.
Okay, I'm listening.
As the reviewer pointed out, the vast majority of movies, television shows, and YouTube videos are filmed at 24 or 30 frames per second. Therefore, watching a movie on the 60 Hz 17 looks virtually identical to watching it on the $1,100 Pro model. The screen hardware easily exceeds the frame rate of the content.
Okay.
They saved money on a component that 80% of users simply won't notice in their daily media consumption.
Okay, I can see the logic there. You aren't losing out on Netflix quality. But what else is missing, just to lay it all out for you? The 17E does not have the dynamic island at the top of the screen. It still has the older notch design for the front camera.
Right.
It doesn't have an always-on display, so when you lock it, the screen goes completely black. As we mentioned, you don't get dedicated ultra-wide or macro lenses for photography. You can't shoot professional-grade ProRes video. It doesn't feature the brand-new camera control button on the side.
Which is a fun button, but not strictly necessary.
True. And also, keep in mind, there's no non-backlit keyboard or anything like that. But finally, while it does have a USB-C charging port, the data transfer speeds are limited to USB 2.0, which tops out at about 480 megabits per second. Again, feels a little slow for 2026, doesn't it?
That USB 2.0 limitation is another prime example of targeting the mainstream user. If you're a professional videographer trying to transfer massive 4K video files via cable to your Mac, USB 2.0 will feel agonizingly slow.
Yeah, you'd be waiting forever.
You absolutely need the Pro model with USB 3 speeds. But if you're like 95% of users who back up their photos to iCloud wirelessly, stream their music, and only use the physical USB-C port to charge the battery on their nightstand, you will literally never notice the slower data transfer speed.
That makes sense.
The compromises here are surgically applied. They affect niche power user workflows while leaving the core everyday smartphone experience completely intact.
Surgically applied is the perfect way to phrase it. It really feels like they looked at what normal people actually do with their phones and kept all of that top tier while trimming the excess.
Exactly.
And that surgical precision naturally brings us to how they actually build these things. It isn't usually in the flashy TV commercials, but it's becoming incredibly important in the environmental impact. The 2026 Product Environmental Report shows that how a phone is made is now just as important as what it can do.
The entire report centers around Apple's 2030 goal. This is their ambitious plan to be completely carbon neutral across their entire footprint by the end of the decade.
That's a huge undertaking.
They're attacking this by targeting the three biggest sources of emissions: materials, electricity, and transportation. If we look at the raw numbers for the iPhone 17, the entire device features 30% recycled content overall.
And when you break that down into the specific parts, it's pretty impressive. The aerospace-grade aluminum enclosure we talked about earlier, that's 85% recycled aluminum.
Yes.
The battery uses 100% recycled cobalt. And all the magnets inside the phone, including the ones that make that MagSafe connection so strong, use 100% recycled rare earth elements.
We really shouldn't gloss over those last two metrics. Mining cobalt and rare earth elements is one of the dirtiest, most ethically fraught, and carbon-intensive necessities of the modern tech boom.
For sure.
Geopolitical supply chains for these minerals are notoriously unstable. By achieving 100% recycled use in these specific critical components on their highest volume device, Apple isn't just saving money, they're demonstrating a significant maturation of their circular supply chain.
It's a big deal.
They're proving that you can build tens of millions of baseline smartphones without mining new critical minerals from the earth for the batteries and magnets. That's a massive shift for the industry. Furthermore, the report notes that 55% of the electricity used to manufacture the 17E comes directly from supplier renewable energy projects like wind and solar.
Even the box that comes in is getting greener. The packaging is now 100% fiber-based, meaning they've completely eliminated the plastic wrap and those little plastic inserts. You can basically just toss the whole box straight into your standard paper recycling bin when you're done opening it.
It's a silent specification, but it represents a massive logistical triumph. Achieving those sustainability metrics on their most affordable mass-market device proves that these practices are scaling effectively, rather than just being PR stunts on their low-volume, ultra-premium models.
So to bring it all home, let's look at the final verdict on the iPhone 17. For $599, you're getting the brain of a flagship phone with that 3nm A19 chip. You're getting life-saving satellite safety features. You get all the new Apple Intelligent software tricks that actually make your life easier. A highly capable 48-megapixel camera that pulls double duty as a zoom lens, 8 gigabytes of RAM. And you start with a massive 256 gigabytes of storage.
It's a solid list.
As long as you can live without a buttery smooth 120 hertz scrolling screen, and you don't mind missing out on a few extra camera lenses and hardware buttons, it's an astonishing amount of value.
It truly redefines what entry-level means in the consumer technology space, and this raises an important question for you to consider.
What's that?
If the baseline, affordable smartphone now packs hardware-accelerated ray tracing, satellite communication, and advanced on-device artificial intelligence features that would have been considered absolute science fiction just a decade ago, have we reached a point of peak smartphone?
That's interesting.
If the E model, the phone for everyone, is this extraordinarily powerful and capable, what does the Pro label even mean anymore? What monumental leaps will these tech companies have to invent next just to convince us that we need to spend over $1,000 to upgrade?
That's definitely something to chew on the next time you look at your screen. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the iPhone 17e here on Azeem USA. We hope it helped you cut through the noise and figure out exactly what this new device is all about.
Thanks for watching.
If you enjoyed this review, make sure to drop a like on the video and hit that subscribe button so you never miss our future tech deep dives. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and we'll catch you on the next one.